everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the signs in the heavens, the Chelyabinsk Russia meteor that burned through the sky. There was a big explosion, caused a lot of damage, injuries. This was back in 2013. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you end up liking it, make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share this with anyone that may not know about this or is interested in this kind of thing. So this is a continuation of the series that I'm doing about signs in the heavens. And I want to try and just kind of catalog and put on a timeline some of the more significant celestial events that have happened during this dispensation, because they are signs of the times, I believe. Now, I came across this because I got an email. An email from Sam Lee that was sharing this with me, a 430-foot asteroid expected to pass by Earth on Monday. This was back last month in December 2021. Now, Sam is referring to a video that I did about Oumuamua, and so what Sam said in the email, you made a video about a comet today, and I wanted to share this with you because there seems to be something similar going on. Now, yeah, I do believe that we need to pay attention to near-Earth objects, or NEOs, such as this. The difference between this and Oumuamua is that Oumuamua came from outside the solar system, which is something that had never been observed up until that point. And that happened in 2017. So that's why I kind of classified it as pretty special. There was also a lot of really interesting things about it, but I did a video about that. So I'll put that in the description below in case you want to see that. I think it is something that's significant, especially because it happened in 2017. But if any of you want to check out this video that Sam shared, I'll put this in the description below as well. This is by Jason A., which is a really good YouTube channel. Jason covers a lot of different news items, just like that have to do with nature, but also just like different things that have to do with the end times, essentially. So I would recommend subscribing to Jason A. and watching his coverage of these things. So, but as I was watching this video, it actually brought up the meteor that happened in Russia back in 2013. And I remember when this happened. So here's a picture of it right here. As you can see, this is not the sun right here. The sun isn't even up yet in this picture. This happened before the sunrise. So this right here is the actual meteor as it's streaking across the sky. And there are some interesting things about this. So I'll show you what I found. So first, let's read a little bit about this event and what happened. Okay, let's see. Directly beneath the meteor's path, the shockwave was powerful enough to knock people off their feet. Windows were shattered and more than 3,600 apartment blocks and a factory roof collapsed. In the local library in Chelyabinsk, 30 miles away, a statue of Pushkin cracked when it was struck by a blown-out window frame. At least 1,210 people were treated for injuries, most from falling building debris and flying glass. At its most intense, the streaking fireball glowed 30 times brighter than the sun. I can't really even imagine that in the sky. The brightest things that I've ever seen is the sun, and then back when I was learning welding, you obviously have to have a special welding mask. You can't just look at the arc. It's really bright. So 30 times brighter than the sun, leaving people on the ground below with skin and retinal burns. Okay, so it burned their skin and their eyes. One resident of Korkino, 18 miles from the point of peak brightness, lost skin from their face after being burned by radiation. That is just incredible. The Chelyabinsk airburst was the largest since Tunguska in 1908. And you'll have to go back and search that. In fact, you know what, I'll probably do a video just on this, because this happened, you know, during this last dispensation, and it was in the last century, but this was a major event, which also happened in Russia. But that one was like out in the boonies. I think it's in Siberia. The largest single piece, weighing around 650 kilograms, punched a 7-meter wide hole in ice, 70 centimeters thick, on Lake Shebarkul, and was discovered from the lake and was recovered from the lakebed in October. The shockwave left a trail of damage 55 miles on either side of the rock's trajectory, according to a report in the journal Science. Quote, "Our goal was to understand all circumstances that resulted in the damaging shockwave that sent over 1,200 people to hospitals in the Chelyabinsk Oblast area that day," said Peter Jeniskins at NASA Ames Research Center in California. "If humanity does not want to go the way of the dinosaurs, we need to study an event like this in detail," he said. All right. Okay, there's nothing else in this article. Okay, so here's the map. Here is where this took place, where you see this red indicator right here. Moscow is over here, much closer to Europe, right? Well, I guess it is in Europe. I don't know where the divide is, because Russia is both in Asia and Europe. But anyway, Moscow and most of the population is kind of like over here. But you do have Chelyabinsk right here. So it's kind of like on the southern border, with close to the southern border with Kazakhstan. All right. So this is where this occurred. Okay. Let me just show you some pictures here, just to give you an idea. So this is from Wikipedia. So it looks like it came in from the east, heading westward like that. So here's the trajectory right there. Here's the size. This is the one that we're talking about right here, CM. This one is the other one that happened in 1908. So it's smaller, but you know, still really sizable. It looks like here's a piece of it that was found, just one of many pieces. Really pretty, in my opinion. I like how that looks. Okay. Here you can see some of the damage, and it looks like maybe the janitor that's going to have to clean up that mess. That day just got a whole lot worse for her. Oh, that sucks. Okay. Let's move on. Over here, here's the collapsed roof of that factory that the other article was talking about. Here's another picture. I love that. I would love to have a piece of a meteorite. That looks really cool. I like that. Okay. Is there anything else here? Okay. Now, Chelyabinsk. A couple interesting things about Chelyabinsk, the city. It is the 7th largest city in Russia. 7th largest city with a population of over 1 million. I just highlighted that because 7, right? I don't know if there's like a message there. This does seem to be a kind of act of God. I do think that it's a sign of the times. And it's more than just because it's something that happened. I'm going to show you a couple things that make me think that it's a sign of the times. But this city, okay, so it's the 7th largest. So that's interesting. You'll notice the flag right here of the city. And the coat of arms is basically the same. It's a camel, because the fortress of Chelyabinsk, from which the city takes its name, was founded at the location at the Bashkir village of Chelyabinsk. Okay, and then to protect the surrounding trade routes from possible attacks by Bashkir outlaws. So this was kind of an important area. There was the fortress here, and it was kind of a place of, well, I'm not going to say a place of commerce, but it talks about these trade routes that went by here. So that's why you have the camel, right? And then I guess the fortress in the background. So that's kind of its history. So you think about trade, you think about commerce, you think about the economy and stuff like that, okay? So 7th largest city. This is a place known for trade routes and a fortress, right? Think about comparing this to, I guess, maybe the world, or just, the worldliness of our world. I checked the Jewish calendar, the Hebrew calendar. This happened on the 5th of Adar, which basically there's nothing significant about this day. I looked up if there were any significant events that happened on the 5th of Adar in Jewish history, and nothing came up, and nothing significant for the 15th of February either. Okay, but this is the month where Purim is celebrated, but I'm not going to go into that. That would be a whole other video. But I don't think that this is necessarily related to Purim. Okay, now look at this. So we have, I'm going to bring up the phrase tracker where I'm tracking the phrases that show up in General Conference between 1942 to present. So this happened in 2013. I don't know if you can see it here. I'll zoom in. So this happened in 2013, and it's actually like pretty much in the middle of President Monson's presidency. In fact, I went to this website. This is like a website where you can calculate the exact middle of any two dates. And this happened, so remember, this happened on February 15th. So, and this date right here, this is the exact midpoint of President Monson's presidency, January 17th, 2013. So it's not right on that date, but it's pretty darn close to the midpoint of his presidency. So, that's interesting. Maybe nothing, but it's interesting. But what is interesting, if you can see it here, so I'm just going to look at 2013. For this column, column E, we're talking about last days. And all of a sudden, you can see, like, on either side, it's just surrounded by green and blue and yellow. All of a sudden, that year, we have this big spike, and it turns red. We have 9 mentions of the last days. Now, keep in mind that this event happened in February, so this would have been before both conferences. It wasn't after April conference or anything like that. So we have a big spike in the last days, which you can't find anywhere any year close to that other than maybe 2004 with 8 times. But to actually meet or beat 2013, you have to go back to 1981. So not since 1981 had there been such a spike in talk of the last days. Is there anything else that happens? Well, yeah, there are a couple things. Let's see. So 2013 is the first year where we have this cluster starting of hasten and hastening. Now, if you saw that video, you'll know that hastening has not been seen since like way back here. Okay, with hasten, it's been pretty common, except for all of a sudden it kind of dies off for a few years, and then it's not until 2013 that it picks back up. And then both hasten and hastening are pretty, there's a concentration here of those two terms. So I think that is interesting. Let's see, was there anything else? One mention of exciting time. I'm not going to read into that, though. It's after 2013 that you have this mega block right here for Prepare the World. It's not that year, but it happens after that, so that's kind of interesting. I thought there was one other thing. Oh no, it's already during the Rising Generation. Okay, so this is why I think it could possibly be a sign of the times. I don't think that you even need to look at this to say that it's a sign of the times, because it made world news. It was a event that we've never seen really in modern times. But it could, it does at least correlate. It may not be as a result of, but it seems to correlate with this right here. I think that's really interesting, this 9 for last days. But anyway, let's move on from that. Okay, so you can watch this video. This is from the Tuvix72 channel, and this person put together a pretty good compilation, because this was like really well documented because of all the, because I guess in Russia, from what I understand, there's like a big problem with like insurance companies and people trying to commit insurance fraud. So nearly everybody has a dash cam to protect themselves when accidents happen. So because of that, there was a lot of footage of this, both from dash cams, but also security cameras and stuff like that. So I would recommend watching this compilation if you haven't already. The blast from it is just huge, and you can tell that it was really loud. I'm surprised that nobody went deaf from it or got like tinnitus or something like that. Now, the city, there's a couple other interesting things about it. So this is study in Russia. So I guess this is for like exchange students or something like that. But this city, Chelyabinsk, it's known as City of Metallurgists. Okay, so let's see. This is not surprising, as many people. Okay, so Russians have many jokes about Chelyabinsk, which imply that its inhabitants are rather rough. This is not surprising, as many people there work in production, since Chelyabinsk is a major industrial center, including metallurgy, machinery manufacturing, and metalworking. Now, I find this interesting, one, because, you know, I know how to weld, and I went to welding school, and I love welding and working with metal. But it kind of made me think a little bit about this right here, King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Because this statue, which represents the world powers from the time of the Babylonian Empire until present, right now we're at the feet and toes of clay, with the exception of the clay, this entire thing is made of metal. Different types of metal, but metalworking nonetheless. If you were to make a metal statue like this, and you're dealing with metal. And you'd probably have to know all the different types of metalworking and how to work with these different types. You know, gold is a lot softer than some of these other ones. So anyway, I just think that that's interesting. Could be reading into it too much, but here we have this city known for metallurgy and working with metal and industry. It's also associated with trade, right? So it's kind of like in one sense, you could kind of see it as like a symbol of worldliness. Not that the people there are bad or anything. I'm sure there's just a lot of really good blue collar workers, and I'm sure the people are just fine. But just like the symbol of what the city is and its history, may have made it a good, essentially, target. If the Lord is using this as like a warning to the world. And if you're the general authorities, or if you're someone like me doing a YouTube channel and you're looking into this, you could maybe see some of the symbolism of this event and how it could be kind of a warning, right? Okay, it's a city between Siberia and Europe, so it's like a transitional city, I guess you could say. And I find that interesting just because we're about to go through a major transition, right? With going from a fallen state in a celestial world to a paradisiacal terrestrial world once we enter into the millennium. So that's just like another, just a little thing, but I think it's pretty cool. And then as part of this website, they talk about the meteor, right? That's going to forever be part of their history now, just because it was such a insane, crazy event. Here's a picture of the largest piece that they pulled up out of the lake that it fell in. Okay, and you can see here, I'm actually going to go to this next article. There's a video here. You'll have to go here yourself and play it if you want, but as they try and weigh it, okay, that's what they're doing right here with these yellow poles. This is like a weighing device. As they're trying to pull it up, it actually breaks into 3 pieces. And I don't want to like read into that. But it's interesting that it broke into 3 pieces. but it actually broke. It broke the not only itself, but the scale. Okay, here it is being pulled out of the ocean, and it's on like this kind of like skid thing right here. Divers had to go in and find it. Here they are unwrapping it before it gets broken when it's weighed. Okay, and then the Chelyabinsk Meteor mystery 3 years later. So now, 3 years later, in 2016, it says here in the article, it seemed that day as if the heavens were gunning for us. And, well, yeah, I think that's right. I think maybe the Lord was gunning for us. Not to kill us, but to send us a message and a warning. The meteor exploded at a height of 12 miles. I don't know, 12 is an interesting number. It released 500 kilotons of energy, approximately 30 times the yield of the nuclear bomb over Hiroshima. So this was a serious blast. This was a powerful, powerful blast. It caused a shock wave that broke windows in 6 Russian cities. That's another interesting number. Simply because, 6, it's less than perfection, right? 7 is perfection. 6 is usually referred to as like the number of man, because man is not perfect, or, at least in this like fallen state that we're in, we're not perfect. We're not like God. So it's interesting that 6 Russian cities had broken windows. Later, about 5 tons of meteoric material reached the ground, including a 1,400-pound meteorite that was recovered by divers from the bottom of Russia's lake, Chelyabinsk. So this right here, this is 1,400 pounds. That is heavy. Okay. Now, the mystery here, could the 2012 DA-14 have been related to Chelyabinsk Meteor? Because it's talking about how usually meteors and stuff, they travel in groups, because usually they kind of like splinter apart, and so they're going together. It's like multiple pieces of the same thing. After closer studies of the 2 objects, they're now believed to be completely independent and unrelated. Because they were trying to figure out, okay, so where did this come from? What was its trajectory? What was its orbit? And they can't match it up with anything. So in astronomical terms, I guess they're confused. It's kind of a mystery. Okay, so here's like the 2 different orbits. Like there's this big one, this big blue one, and then a smaller blue one right here. So you can tell that those are completely 2 different orbits. Okay, so where in space did the Chelyabinsk super bolide come from? Did it have a parent body, and was the body a known object in space? The answer is that we don't know yet for certain, but scientists are still trying to figure it out. And then down here, bottom line, scientists are still seeking the origin of the Chelyabinsk meteor, which streaked across skies over Russia on February 15th, 2013. So there's a little bit of mystery to it. I think that's kind of noteworthy. I mean, of course, I guess it could just be its own thing, I mean, I'm no astronomer, but I would assume that, it could be the main body, or who knows, maybe it's, there's a little bit more miracle going on there. I don't know. I'm not going to really speculate on that too much. Okay, this was a house-sized asteroid. This is on NASA, okay? The Chelyabinsk event drew widespread attention to what more needs to be done to detect even larger asteroids before they strike our planet, said NASA Planetary Defense Officer Lindley Johnson. This was a cosmic wake-up call. Well, and I think it was maybe more than just a cosmic wake-up call in a worldly sense. I think that more of us need to look at this as maybe a spiritual wake-up call, right? Coincidentally, okay, so there's a coincidence going on here. Coincidentally, On the same day as the Chelyabinsk event, the United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space Working Group on Near-Earth Objects, otherwise known as NEOs, was meeting in Vienna to finalize a recommendation to the UN on how to defend Earth from possible asteroid impacts. One result of this meeting was an endorsement by the UN General Assembly for the establishment of an International Asteroid Warning Network, or IAWN, for worldwide collaboration on the detection and tracking of potential impact hazards, and a Space Missions Planning Advisory Group, or a SMPAG, SMPAG, as a forum for the national space agencies to collaborate on plans for preventing any possible asteroid impact. Wow, that was the most boring paragraph I've ever read, with high-minded words and phrases. Okay, so basically it was a coincidence that they were doing all this on the day that this event happened. So there was a coincidence on that day. That's all that we need to know. There's a coincidence. Okay, and that's it for that. All right, so that's what I have for you. Like I said, I would highly recommend to watch this compilation, especially if you've never heard about this before, because it is mind-blowing. Just look how bright it is. If you didn't know any better, if you were just like looking at this picture, you didn't know what you were looking at, I would probably assume that this was the sun, and then this back here is just like a contrail, right? Because like look how it looks like morning. Well, it is morning time, but it looks like morning when the sun is already up, but the sun is not up yet. And then, gosh, the sound, it's just a massive, massive explosion. So, and then again, remember, I think that we should take into account just the fact that this happened almost perfectly in the middle of President Monson's presidency. There's an uptick in the last days talk, and then all of a sudden we're talking about hasten and hastening. I don't know. I don't know if this had an impact on the general authorities or the prophet. They watch these things, obviously. If you're the prophet, aren't you going to be like watching at what's happening in the news, and especially things that are happening in nature, because you know that God controls nature. So I wouldn't be surprised if it really was a sign for the world, and maybe even more specifically for the prophet and for the general authorities to let us know the time that we're in. All right, that's all I have for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you liked it, make sure to leave your thoughts, comments, any additional information, or, astronomical, or, signs in the heavens. If you have any more signs in the heavens, put it below. I'll add it to my list, and we'll look into it. Oh, before I go, let's go ahead and add this to the list. So I have down here that last video that I did about Shoemaker Levy 9. Make sure to watch that video. Now we're going to add, okay, how do we spell it? You know what? I'm just going to copy and paste. Copy. Oh. Paste values only. Yes, there. That way it's the same. And then up here, 2017, we have Mua. Okay, so I'm going to keep adding to this list, and I'll make sure to like color code it and make it look more interesting. But for now, we have 3 events that are on this timeline. Shoemaker Levy 9, 2004, Chelyabinsk, 2013, Oumuamua, 2017. All very strange and very strange things and occurrences in the heavens. Okay, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later.